about the development of flying. And we're going to tell you about all the technology that was developed. There's a reason why we are here at Stonehenge dressed in First World War clothes. And that reason will come out as the show goes on. So to explain this, ladies and gents, we're going to use some jaunty little illustrations, really. We've got some here. So my first question to you guys is, any Americans in the audience, ladies and gents? Any Americans? Hello there, welcome. You're our first Americans today, actually. Every time we ask that, normally we get loads of them. Now this one's for you. It's the Wright brothers, of course. 1903, the Wright brothers are universally accepted as being the first people with controlled, powered flight. Yesterday, a man who knew clearly a little bit more than he thought I did, he put his hand up and went, "Oh, I think you'll find," and I said, "Take it up with the Smithsonian Museum." Really, you know, it's generally accepted that the Wright brothers are the first people to fly powered flight, okay? But it nearly wasn't so. In Britain, 4 years before, we had a man called Percy Pilcher, and Percy Pilcher was a Victorian glider pilot. Absolutely brilliant man. He, in fact, in 1899, he held the world record for flying in a glider. You don't associate this with Queen Victoria's time, do you? Now, Percy Pilcher had flown 250 metres in a glider of his own construction. Pretty impressive. But he wanted more. Pilcher had gone to some financiers and they had paid for a petrol engine to be made. And he built a triplane, 1 wing, 2 wings, 3 wings, that he was fitting the engine to. His financiers turned up in 1899 to see Percy Pilcher fly. But the engine got broken. He couldn't start it, so he said, "Look, so not to disappoint you this week, I'll go up in one of my gliders." He got up in a glider, it crashed from 30 feet, he fell, broke his leg and died of blood poisoning 10 days later. And we forget poor old Percy Pilcher, but scientists have looked at his designs and said almost certainly Pilcher, if that engine had started, would have been one of the first people to fly controlled powered flight, and the Wright brothers would have been forgotten. 4 years before, Percy Pilcher would have been the man, but history has forgotten him. So let's have a round of applause for the Wright brothers, ladies and gents, very much so. We move forward 6 years to Louis Blériot. Why do we remember Blériot, folks? Flies the Channel, flies from France and to England and lands near Dover Castle, ladies and gentlemen. Another site you could benefit from with English Heritage membership, ladies and gents. So he lands near Dover Castle, and look at this machine. It's got a wing here, it's got an engine at the front, a fuselage and a tail assembly here. It's pretty much like most modern aircraft that we know after this date. What an achievement though. Louis Blériot flying from one country to another. What a guy.
Now let us skip forward 3 years, and the year is 1912, and a woman comes to the forefront of flying. She is the first female pilot, and that woman is Miss Harriet Quimby, and she flies from Britain all the way over to France. This is big news for 1912. Chaps, big news.
Sorry, what?
Harriet Quimby.
I'm not paying attention to you at all, sorry.
What is more important than that?
What's more important? The Titanic's just sunk.
That's bad timing.
Really bad timing by Harriet Quimby. She flies her epic flight the same day that the Titanic sinks. And unfortunately, even the Daily Mirror, who've sponsored her epic flight, can give her no better than page 8 the following day, with a photograph saying, "Woman does something." Meanwhile, in the North Atlantic, big story is happening. Yeah, poor old Harriet Quimby lost on a big news day, unfortunately. So we move forward to an even bigger story. It happens 2 years after that. It's World War I, ladies and gentlemen, the Great War. So there is an example of an aircraft type that you would have found being used by the Germans, the Etrichtaub or Dove. 2 seats, engine at the front, tail assembly at the rear. We've got something similar. Ours has got 2 wings. It's not a monoplane, it's a biplane. It's the BE-2C or Blériot Experimental 2. This is the C variant, but later on there'll be other variants as well. Engine at the front, wing here, wing there. Again, 2 seats. And there are other 2-seater types available. Why are we using 2-seaters though?
To answer that question, we need to think, why are we using aircraft in warfare at all? Now, in olden days of yore, armies would use cavalry, men on horses, to ride out and see what the enemy were up to. However, now we have aeroplanes, we don't need horses anymore. We've got something better. So we can fly up and see what's going on. Now this is brilliant at the start of the First World War, when armies are moving out over open countryside. We can see what they're doing. But as the war slows down and the trenches get dug, things are difficult to spot. Day to day it's hard to see what's changing. And so a French pilot has an idea. He takes his camera up with him and takes a photograph. It then flies back and they develop the picture and they all gather round and they have a look at it, and it's absolutely useless. But it's quite a good idea. So now, using these two-seater aircraft, we could do something quite clever. In the front seat of an aircraft, quite importantly, is the pilot. Very important, really. In the back seat is an observer. Now, these observers were given cameras. So what they can do now is they can stand up and lean out over the side of the aeroplane as they fly over the trenches. They can then take photographs of what's happening on the ground. These glass plate photographs are then developed and they can look and see exactly what's going on. So now we know every troop movement, every development, every little change in the German lines. Now, of course, this is brilliant for us. The Germans, however, are less keen on it.
Yeah! We are the Germans, we are very angry about the Englander airplane flying overhead, and it is looking in the trenches and seeing also where the soldiers are. And we will get very angry, we will go over there with our airplanes, and we will also take pictures of the Tommies sitting in their holes in the ground. And if our observation aircraft meets their observation aircraft, we will have ludicrous air battles with whatever guns we've taken up there with us. So these observation aircraft, these two-seaters, start meeting each other over the front line. The Germans have equipped themselves with, well, whatever came to hand. Yeah, I am in the rear cockpit of the German airplane. I had my pilot hands. I see the Englander two-seater with the cameraman. I will now shoot him with the shotgun I brought with me. Hold it steady now. I'm going to aim at him. Hold the airplane. I've missed him now. I'll have another go. Here we go. Hold the airplane steady. Here we go. So they start shooting at each other with whatever they've got. They start using shotguns, hunting rifles, pistols.
Bricks?
Oh yeah, bricks. On one occasion, a Frenchman throws bricks at a German aircraft.
Steel darts!
Oh yeah, buckets of steel darts. They tip them out over the side as they go over the enemy aircraft.
Small comedy anchors on the end of long bits of string.
Yep, a Frenchman tries to snag the propeller of another aircraft by lowering an anchor into it. It's all a bit ludicrous. These air battles of 1914 are pretty eccentric stuff.
So chaps, I am curious, how many actual aircraft were shot down in 1914?
What, shot down by other aeroplanes?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Precise or
Give
sort
us
of
approximate.
approximate.
In
okay,
1914.
14.
So
So
yeah, you had the
and then
at the start,
and then
there was those ones.
well, yeah, but
We're all waiting.
carry the one, bring it down. Okay, we got an answer.
Oh, yes.
None.
Nobody.
Nobody at all. Nobody at all gets shot down by another aircraft. But everything is about to change. Everything changes in 1915 with this guy here, ladies and gentlemen, Roland Garros. Why do we know his name today? Tennis court. Now, Roland Garros is a racing driver, he's a pilot, he sells expensive sports cars. He's the kind of guy I like, to be quite honest. Now, Roland Garros has got himself a little Morin Saunier single-seater scout aircraft. And it's quite a nippy little thing. He takes a Hotchkiss machine gun and he bolts it on top of the engine cowling. And he flies along, and now he can shoot in the direction he's going. All he has to do is aim the aeroplane and he can do
Hang on.
What?
He's got a machine gun.
Yep, Hotchkiss machine gun.
That fires bullets.
Fires bullets.
Right. And he's bolted it to the engine.
To the engine cowling, yeah.
Firing forward.
Firing forwards.
Forwards to where the propeller is.
Yeah.
He's just going to shoot his propeller.
Oh, no. Garros is ahead of you on that one already. What he's done, he's got his engineers to bolt steel plates on the back of the propeller. Any machine gun bullets that don't get through simply bounce off, towards the wings or the fuel tank or the pilot, Roland Garros. But you know what? He doesn't mind, because in 5 days, Garros shoots down 4 German observation aircraft. And the Germans are like, how's he doing this? This is amazing. Well, he gets a bit cocky. He attacks a German-held railway station in occupied Belgium. As he's strafing the troops on the ground, he gets hit by ground fire. He's okay, but the aircraft is forced down. Before Garros has a chance to burn the aircraft and destroy his deflector plate technology, it falls into the enemy hands. And the Germans look at it and go, ah, crude, but effective.
Now, I feel, chaps, that someone should invent some sort of system whereby when you fire, it sort of travels through the propeller rather than hitting it.
Oh, what, you mean some kind of system, but we don't need deflector plates? Well, the Germans think the same. They look at the deflector plate technology on the captured French aircraft and they go, send this down to that lad that we're employing. He's 28 years old. He's a Dutchman who's working for the Germans. He's a brilliant young engineer called Anthony Fokker. Now, he absolutely is just a genius, which makes it even more annoying that we turned him down, so he's gone to work for the Germans instead. Now, he looks at the deflector plate technology and says, I can do better. He puts a gear wheel on the back of the propeller shaft. A linkage goes to the machine gun he's put on the top of his aircraft, which he calls the Fokker E1 monoplane. E1 or Eindecker, Ein 1 deck, row of wings. That's not the good bit. The aircraft is pretty ordinary. It's the machine gun that's clever. The propeller, as it's turning round, trips the little linkage, and that goes to the gun. When the propeller is in danger of being struck by the bullets, it simply stops the machine gun from firing, just for a moment. Then, as the blade passes the point of danger, it allows the gun to fire again. Again and again, as the engine rotates, it stop, starts the machine gun. It's called the interrupter gear. Now just stop for a moment. Think how fast that propeller blade is moving. Think how clever that technology is for 1915. Now consider this. When the Germans have that technology and we, the Allies, do not, the average lifespan of a British pilot can be measured in hours or days at best. You could arrive on your squadron in the morning, go out on patrol, meet a Fokker monoplane, and you would be shot down and dead, ladies and gentlemen. They refer to British pilots at this period as Fokker fodder, because if they run into a Fokker monoplane, they will just be gobbled up and eaten. The Germans rule the skies with the interrupter gear technology.
This seems all really complicated to me. Rather than worry about all the engine and stuff, if shooting forward is the best idea and the engine and propeller get in the way, why don't we just move the engine and propeller to, say, the back of the aeroplane where it's not in the way of the gun?
You mean, instead of having it pulling the aircraft along, it would push it along?
Yeah.
And what would you call this type of aeroplane?
I would name it a pusher plane.
You mean like this one here, Mr. Burnham?
Just like that pre-prepared card.
A seamless link there. Yeah, that's what we do. We now develop, to combat the Fokker monoplane menace, we create these aircraft that no longer have an engine at the front, they've got an engine at the back. What we've done actually is move the blind spot just behind the pilot and the observer. But now at least we've got an uninterrupted field of vision forwards.
Yeah, don't worry about blind spots. I can now sit in the front with my machine gun and I can see everything, so I can shoot down anybody. It's great. It's
now,
great.
In a FE2B like this, in reality, I'd be a little bit higher. So here I am, the pilot, and I suddenly see that a Fokker monoplane is getting into an attack position on our blind spot behind me. So here I am, flying, and I see him. I signal to my gunner. No radios, you see. He stands up in the cockpit, braces his knees against the inside of the cockpit, takes the machine gun off its forward mounting, holding it in his hands. He now places it on a metal post between him and me. He's now covering the rear of the aircraft.
Right, I got this.
I, of course, as the pilot, am taking evasive action and... Where's he gone? He's fallen out, ladies and gents. Now, before you laugh, he's falling out at 3 miles up and he's not wearing a parachute. Parachutes are invented, but they're big, they're bulky. There's no excess power to carry the weight of 2 parachutes, and not only that, there's nowhere for them to be, there's no space. To make matters worse, quietly in the War Ministry, it is